Stand up, be bold, be strong, take the whole responsibility on your own shoulders, and know that you are the creator of your own destiny. All the strength and succor you want are within you. Greetings, everyone. I'm Shivangi. Meet my teammates, Jia and Ishita. From being unknown classmates to hanging out together at odd hours, we owe this camaraderie to Project Green Challenge. I hail from Delhi, and just to make sense of the place, Delhi is essentially the Washington, D.C. of India. But the Delhi I grew up in was less polluted and much more greener, where toddlers and elderly alike would plod in the park with no fear of potentially clogged lungs. But a lot has changed now. The constant spike in air pollution continues to choke the city, leading to a steep rise in the patients with chronic lung conditions reporting exacerbated symptoms. School closures after Diwali has become somewhat of a norm now, owing to presence of alarming level of toxic heavy metals in the ambient air. The year was 2017, and I had just returned from a felicitation ceremony and heard a knock on my door. I stepped outside to find my neighbor's daughter, Mina. She told me to the front yard and shoved a glass jar in my hand. She then unbottled hers and held it in the air for 2 minutes straight. Before I could wrap my head around what was happening, she sealed the jar, dug a small pit, dumped it there, covered it with layers of mud. What she said next was truly heartbreaking. You should do this too. And upon asking why, she was like, the more people who capture the polluted air, the less pollution we'll have in the air, and the sooner we'll get to attend the school in person. This reminded me that Mina was choosing to fight back. She was choosing to hope despite adults' passivity. And she was choosing to believe that each effort made towards reducing pollution counts. This was a reminder that I'm not alone in bearing this existential dread that our generation is left with 29 years window to stop this cataclysmic crisis, and that our generation has the power to ignite fire in the liminal space and drive radical and transformative shift. While it's vital to foster conversation around these topics, it would be foolish of me to understate the inevitable anxiety that comes with looking at the world through the lens of climate crisis. This is where PGC left its mark. PGC pushed me out of my comfort zone, and I managed to register my city's leading restaurant under a Feeding India's flagship food donation program. Now, this might be a small thing, but when your emails to a local representative are met with no response, any lead is a big deal. PGC made me realize that no matter what we are conditioned to believe, our voices are valid, regardless of how actively those in power oppose that. So, first things first. Why is my cap related to climate literacy? Statistics published by Yale University show that out of 35% of climate literate population in India, 80% of them see it as a serious crisis. India is home to world's largest population. So even if half of them are eco-literate, it would tremendously boost the climate resiliency of our economy. And youth should be able to perceive development as not some increase in financial income, but the fresh air they breathe and the food they eat. Interestingly enough, environmental studies was introduced as a mandatory subject in school curricula in 2003 following the Supreme Court judgment, but somehow teachers and students often fail to see the connection. Now, why did that happen? Because the primary focus was on dispelling a bunch of facts and figures about environment and prescribing oversimplified solutions to overgeneralized problems, like portraying deforestation as bad. Nothing that could show that students on an individual level were also contributing to the crisis. This translates into a shallow understanding of the problem and consequently youth supporting shallow policies of the authority. This is where eco plans come into play. With its project based learning curriculum centered on sustainability, conscious living, urban ecology, and climate justice, it aims to mobilize students to act, design, and demand sustainable framework for the present because climate crisis is a problem of present and has the potential to wipe essentially the civilization off the face of the earth. This course will be designed in collaboration with for Science and Environment, and with collaboration with teachers and schools. So the financial aspect completely depends on school. And but that's all talk and no action, right? Wrong. To test the feasibility of our CAP, my team hosted two-day activity-oriented, inquiry-based workshop for a cohort of 15 students. Now, the first day consisted of them scouring through a tub full of disposable plastic waste, searching for paper fish and paper tortoise. This was to emulate ocean pollution and the slow and painful death of marine species at the hands of plastic nets. Next, we demonstrated some wall hangings made out of single-use plastic and other metal waste. The workshop was concluded with sessions on recycling paper and making compost, and also compost bin. We also received a few collages, like demonstrating the relationship with water, and like this one. This is the one from a third grader. We have been granted permission to conduct workshops in our school as well as approach government funded schools in our area. And we have defined these short term and long term goals at the beginning of the project. And in the Diwali breaks, we have successfully achieved out of all those short term goals and have commenced working on the long term goals with permission of our city's deputy mayor. Now, there were a few key takeaways from holding that 2 day session. First, students absolutely hate 1 hour long session or lectures, and they absolutely adore project based learning. And it's really difficult to make them love nature and just understand the gravity of the situation by making them explore those things in books. They have to be taken outside and they have to explore those things first hand. On to the last slide. These are the short-term goals, and we have achieved three out of them. So what's next? PGC has profoundly impacted my point of view. It made me acknowledge the inevitable discomfort that comes with switching to cleaner and conscious alternatives. When the lead people to silence themselves, even unpopular status quo can persist. And in this case, the status quo is comfortable, and that's for a reason and favored by vast majority and supported by people in power. So making a shift is not only difficult but a daunting task. But as long as it stays hidden and internalized, it'll continue to exist. So here's to changing that mindset and here's to not looking the other way anymore. Thank you for listening and thank you to Project Green Challenge for hosting this.